Coming to you from Annapolis, Maryland, home of the U.S. Naval Academy, the sailing capital of the world, home of the world's largest crab feast, and 4 signers of the Declaration of Independence. This is the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, a daily roundup of local news that you can use, including local sports, local events, local opinion, and local weather from DMV Weather. Now here's your host, publisher of Eye on Annapolis, John Franchot.
Good morning. It is Friday, January 26th. This is John Franchot, and this is your Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. Late yesterday afternoon, Anne Arundel County officers responded to a motorcycle crash on Route 3 North in Crofton, right at Carver Road in front of the Chick-fil-A. Investigators showed that a Yamaha motorcycle was crossing over Maryland 3 northbound when it was struck by a Toyota minivan that was traveling northbound. The driver of the motorcycle, unfortunately, was killed on impact. His name was Stuart Livingstone, 26, of Bowie. The driver of the minivan, April Quinn of Odenton, and front seat passenger, who was her mother, Lisa Hansen of Silver Spring, refused medical treatment at the scene. However, Quinn's daughter, nearly 2 years old, was transported by state police helicopter to Johns Hopkins Children's Center with unknown injuries. The toddler was fastened into an approved car seat in the rear of the vehicle. The primary cause of the collision is still under investigation, but police believe it to be excessive speed on the part of the motorcycle. More Crofton news. Anne Arundel County Circuit Court Judge Paul Harris has found John Haberman, 19, not guilty of 2 misdemeanor hate crimes. Now, Haberman was one of 2 teens who were caught last year after they hung a noose outside of Crofton Middle School. Haberman was convicted of 2 trespassing charges in December, but Judge Harris delayed ruling on the hate crime charges and other related misdemeanors, asking the attorneys handling the case to submit final written arguments before making his decision. Ultimately, in his ruling, Harris said that the state's attorney, Wes Adams, failed to prove that Haberman acted out of hatred or racist intentions towards blacks at the school. In his ruling, Harris said, quote, "The state did not produce any evidence that the defendant harbored any animus or ill will toward the African-American principal, the African-American teacher whose classroom was directly exposed to the noose, or any individual person, as required by statutes governing hate crime charges." Haberman's cohort, Connor Prout, pleaded guilty to 1 hate crime charge in a unique deal where he will serve community service under the guidance of the Anne Arundel County chapter of the NAACP. Haberman is scheduled to be sentenced for the misdemeanor trespassing charges in about 4 days on January 29th. President Donald Trump's $1.5 trillion tax cut may have some unintended consequences for some Marylanders. More than a quarter of Marylanders will owe more in state and local taxes because of the changes in the federal law, a cost that Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot estimates to exceed $400 million next year. He issued a report that will play a crucial role as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle attempt to insulate Maryland residents from that huge inadvertent state tax hike. The report says that the federal reforms would not affect about 69% of state tax bills. Hopefully I'm among that 69%, while raising 28% and lowering 4% of the bills. Factors likely to determine how an individual taxpayer might be affected include whether they have children, whether they typically itemize their deductions, and whether they have a business income or loss. The harsh flu season has put a significant stress on Maryland's hospitals and emergency services. State health officials said Thursday that hospitals are being overcrowded. They're urging only the very sick to visit an emergency room. There is a normal increase in the number of people who go to the hospital in the winter for flu and respiratory illnesses, but the Maryland Department of Health has reported widespread cases. Public Health Services Deputy Secretary Dr. Howard Haft said, "Please be sure there is a true emergency before calling 911. Officials said doctors and urgent care centers can treat milder symptoms. If you want to know how to avoid the flu and get some flu survival tips, check out the most recent Evolve Medical Clinic article on Eye on Annapolis. You can go to eyeonannapolis.net and just search for Evolve, and it'll be the first one that comes up on the search. Hey, music lovers, Elton John's farewell tour will be making a stop in Baltimore. The legendary musician announced a 300-date, 3-year tour to top off his career. After that, he says he will never play live again. And a Facebook event states that Elton John will be playing at the Royal Farms Arena on March 9th, 2019. So we've got a little bit to wait before we see Elton John here. But you don't have a long wait for George Young. He's with DMV Weather, and he has your local weather forecast. He's coming up right after Sean O'Neill with RBC Wealth Management. And we also have all the cool things to do this weekend for you a little bit later on.
I'm Sean O'Neill, your local RBC Wealth Management Advisor. More than likely, the primary reason you save and invest is to achieve your life goals while ensuring your long-term financial well-being. But before you can determine your preparedness towards your goals, you need long-term answers to important questions about how much money you need, where it will come from, and how long it will last. RBC Wealth Plan, a new industry-leading tool, is now available to help answer these questions and develop your personal plan using a conversational approach. With RBC Wealth Plan, we can create a personal analysis based on these unique goals while offering you the ability to weigh certain decisions and determine what's best for you and your family. Call me, Sean O'Neill, today at 410-573-6723 for a complimentary consultation.
RBC Wealth Management, a division of RBC Capital Markets, LLC. Member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC. This is Maryland. The weather can be nearly unpredictable. We've got George Young from DMV Weather in Annapolis to sort it all out.
Hey everyone, this is George from DMV Weather with your Eye on Annapolis daily news brief forecast for Friday, January 26th. It's a seasonably cold morning out there right now, but we'll feel much better by this afternoon with tons of sunshine and temps getting into the 45 to 50 degree range with light winds. And tomorrow will be much the same, but even warmer with highs in the mid to upper 50s. Then clouds will move in late tomorrow, and we should expect rain starting across all of Anne Arundel County sometime very late Saturday night into very early Sunday morning, and it'll likely last off and on for much of the day Sunday and even into Sunday night, with the upside of the day being temps once again in the 50s. But even that will go away as a cold front moves through and temps are back down into the 40s on Monday, and then only the 30s for highs Tuesday and Wednesday. And we're already tracking a potential snow threat for late week next week, likely around Friday the 2nd of February, so stay tuned for updates on that threat over the next several days to see if it materializes. Okay, that's it for us today. Make sure you download our free weather app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store on all of your devices by searching for DC MDVA Weather, and also follow us on our website at dmvweather.com or on Twitter or Facebook so you can always stay weather informed. This is George Young of DMV Weather with your Annapolis forecast. Enjoy the weekend ahead before the skies above change and the temps drop back to much colder mid-winter levels. But remember, whatever the weather outside, have fun and be safe.
I'm Sean O'Neill, your local RBC Wealth Management Advisor. When you choose to work with me, you'll have access to a worldwide network of financial products and services only available from a leading global institution. RBC's international reputation for physical strength and stability, world-class capabilities, and corporate values is unique in the financial services industry. I also recognize the importance of reinvesting in the communities in which we live and work, and I'm committed to serving my clients by building long-term relationships based on trust, integrity, and confidence. I look forward to helping you with your wealth management needs. Call me, Sean O'Neill, today at 410-573-6723 for a complimentary consultation.
RBC Wealth Management, a division of RBC Capital Markets, LLC. Member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC. Need to make plans for the weekend? We got you covered. Here are our top picks. Be sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net to sign up for the events newsletter with a listing of all the upcoming area events.
Thank God it's
Once again, the weekend is upon us, and there is plenty to do. Let's kick it off tonight from 5 to 9 up in Baltimore. But hey, wait a minute, it's got an Annapolis spin. Seawolf Brewery, who you don't know much about yet, but you will in the future, is having a release of their second beer at Peabody Heights Brewery in Baltimore. This second release is called Leatherneck Red Ale, and Seawolf is all very Naval Academy and naval-centric. Their first beer release, which was very good, and actually we were drinking it during the most recent Maryland Crabs podcast, was called Special Hops, a play on the word Special Ops IPA. Very good beers. They're going to be brewing in Howard County very shortly, and they are getting ready to open up a downtown Annapolis restaurant, fingers crossed, by May. You can learn more at seawolfbrewery.com. NBSP.com, but they've got the beer release tonight at Peabody Heights Brewery in Baltimore from 5 to 9. It is free. Go get some free tasty beer. If you're staying local, Satisfaction, the Ultimate Stones band, is playing at Ram's Head on stage at 8 o'clock. I know we've got some rabid Stones fans in town. I know they will be there, but if you are a Stones fan, this is the tribute band to see. And tomorrow, it only comes once a year. The Maryland State Police Polar Bear Plunge to benefit the Special Olympics of Maryland. Several thousand people will take to the usually icy waters of the Chesapeake Bay, but they're not going to be quite so bad this year. Come on out to Sandy Point State Park. They will have transportation from the community college. You can park and go watch these people jump into the bay. The Ram's Head is sponsoring their Ice Lodge, which is an all-day festival, plenty of live bands, plenty of food and drink. They're going to have a vendor village where you can buy stuff. You can buy swag for the plunge. It all goes to benefit Special Olympics of Maryland, which is perhaps one of the greatest organizations in the state. And I'll tell you, I'm looking on my wall here. I've got a plaque they sent me a few years ago, and it is one of my most cherished possessions. Do support the Special Olympics of Maryland. We will see you at the Polar Bear Plunge tomorrow. It gets underway at about 11 a.m. All weekend long, we can talk a little bit about culture. Colonial Players has a new play out called Quartet, and it's an operatic comedy, but it's not opera, but it's a play with an opera theme in there. A little bit of comedy, it'll get you thinking, it'll get you crying, it'll get you sighing. It runs weekends through February 4th at Colonial Players, which is one of the great community playhouses that we have here in town. Go check that out. Highly recommended. And if you're looking for more culture, and speaking of opera, at 11 a.m. on Saturday, at Maryland Hall, Billy Goat's Gruff. The Annapolis Opera will be presenting this children's opera. So if you want to introduce your kids to opera, this is a great opportunity to do it. It is based on the old Norwegian, I think, fable, Billy Goat's Gruff, about a bunch of goats that are trying to get some food. They have to cross a bridge, and there's a mean old bully and troll that lives underneath it. They do a great job with this. It's been out on the road doing some field trips and some school presentations. This is the only public performance of that this year. Annapolis Opera is doing that 11 a.m. at Maryland Hall for the Creative Arts right here in Annapolis. That's about it for the weekend. Have a good one. Be safe. And we will see you on Monday.
Thanks for listening to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief. If you like what you heard, make sure to tell your friends and colleagues about it. And also tell them about our website, eyeonannapolis.net, where you can find much more. Be sure to check out our other weekly podcast, The Maryland Crabs. This podcast comes to you every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.